So many able-bodied young men and women who are on the streets who just can't find proper jobs to do. But the vice president also spoke a few weeks ago and spoke about government having created more than 2 million jobs. In fact, the employment minister, well, did I say unemployment minister? The employment minister have data that suggests that the NPP government, within a certain time frame, had created about 3 million jobs. So where are the jobs? This on Ghana Connect.
We see a reduction in outside the labor force of persons, approximately 440,000 persons. And because this is a set of 3 categories of people, you need to find where they are going to.
This is what I've been doing for a living. I take blood pressure and then sugar level. I take 2 cities when checking the blood pressure and then 6 cities when checking the sugar level. And then this is what I've been doing to support myself as a man in this economic hardship.
I have an interesting report to play for you right after this break.
When you want to eat, just Momo it. Tired of the long queues in the supermarket? Pay with Momo. When you really want that beautiful new blouse, just Momo it. When you want to get a trim and get fresh to impress you know who, just Momo it. When you need to pay your utility bills and domestic staff, Shani Momo. When you want to send love to the family back home, send some Momo. Join the millions of MTN Momo users all over Ghana and live life the brighter way. So just Momo it. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Water is needed all day, all night. So remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no the crack, in no the spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough. Water is needed all day, all night. So remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no the crack, in no the spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough.
Central University, Ghana's leading private Christian university, has open admissions. Apply now for a degree in environmental engineering, fashion design, landscape design, interior design, business administration, economics, law, civil engineering, architecture, computer science, IT, theology, and many others. Degrees are available on our campuses in Mutual, ICGC Christ Temple, Abosokai, and Kumasi. Also enroll in our MBA with various specializations. Scholarships are available for needy but brilliant students. Call us on 0303 318 583 or visit our website at central.edu.gh for more information. Central University, raising transformational leaders through faith, integrity, and excellence.
Hello, Auntie Araba. Hey, Bugger, how are you doing today? I want to buy Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, but I don't have enough money. So what are you going to do? Can you give me the big size? You know, as for me, I'll pay the balance later.
Today, no credit. I haven't sold much this morning. If you don't have enough money for the big size, why don't you try the 120-gram pack?
There's a 120-gram pack? Introducing the new Pepsodent Cavity Fighter in 120-gram pack size. More affordable and convenient. Get yours today from any supermarket near you. Every smile matters. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to the show. It's been an incredible past week when the data from the Ghana Statistical Service hit town. It was shocking because of the huge number of people who are unemployed. Tertiary students, people who have gone for higher education who still cannot get jobs to do. And in fact, so many people say master's degree these days in the country is just for so many students who've just graduated from undergraduate who can't find something to do and so want to keep themselves busy by going on to do more degrees. And they just can't find a job to do. And so tonight on the show, we ask, what will it take to fix the unemployment issue? And of the various government programs, YEA, GIDA, NAPCO, and all those other political programs, have they really yielded any tangible results, or they've just really been politics?
In the global economic crisis, the public sector recruited 1.2 million people, while the private sector created 975,000 jobs, according to SNIT data. We recruited 100,000 more health workers, 100,000 more teachers, more than double the fire service personnel, and so on. Our government clearly has created more jobs in the last 7 years than any other government in the Fourth Republic. This
we see a reduction in outside the labor force of persons, approximately 440,000 persons. And because this is a set of 3 categories of people, you need to find where they are going to.
People doing a lot of things. You remember that sound here on Joy? Back movement. So many people doing so many things to be able to survive. And I have some really interesting guests to tell us at least what they make of all these talks about employment situation in the country. And we've been joined by Karim Abdul, Iradam's Karim, and he's one of the favorite guys that I like to listen to a lot. Karim, it's good to have you join us.
Thank you very much, Kwaku. It's good to be here. I think this is the first time I'm coming on.
Right.
In the year 2024. It's good to be here.
Karim is a poet also, and he has some interesting insight on all these things. Alfred is mining the data. He's been talking a lot about the data that the vice president put out, SNET data, comparing and contrasting, having debates, banter with Miracles and co on Twitter. Alfred, it's good to connect with us today.
Hi, Kwaku. Thanks for having me. Yeah, happy to be back on the show again.
And then I have Nicholas, and Nicholas has an interesting story. I'll tell you about that in a moment. Nicholas, good evening, and thanks for connecting with us.
Good evening.
Right. So before I go right into my guest, listen to this story of Nicholas, and it tells the story about the employment situation in the country.
In a city where academic degrees don't always open doors, the story of a 36-year-old first-class graduate biting hard on the rope of unemployment opened my heart to embrace life in the best way possible. But before I tell you the story of Nicholas, ponder this. What would you do for work if your first-class degree could not earn you a white-collar job?
This market was my first place of contact. That was around 2013. I had only 2 cedis in my pocket and the machines were there. But to start was a challenge.
Nicholas is a 36-year-old husband and father of 1. He graduated top of his class from Methodist University, but for 10 years now, his office has been the bustling market center and his clients traders in the markets.
This is what I've been doing for a living. I check blood pressure and then sugar level. I take 2 cedis when checking the blood pressure and then 6 cedis when checking the sugar level. And then this is what I've been doing to support myself as a man in this economic hardship. I've been doing this work for the past 10 years. I started in 2013.
According to the World Health Organization, the burden of hypertension is very high in Africa, where 2/3 of cases are found.
That is Nicola's story. It's a long story. You can find that on our various social media platforms. A very interesting feature done there by Suti Abochi, a colleague here at Johnny. So that is the staggering nature of the problem. Nicholas graduated at top of his class, but could not find a job. For so long, he had to be pushed to find something to do. It takes me back again to the days of Kwaku. Nicholas, so, tell us about the hunt for jobs, the job search, and how you came to decide that is something you could do.
Okay, thank you very much. But before that, I would like to make some correction. I wasn't the overall best student, and even in my department, I think a lady comes first before me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm the
first
second
class
in
student.
my class.
Okay.
Yeah, accounting. Well, let's journey back in time in 2013, where after secondary school in 2005, now I have to go through a series of hardships because the SS certificate is not worthy enough to secure you a job. And by then, it was diploma in business studies that was reigning. So I have to pursue diploma in business studies with the hope that I may get a job. I completed the diploma in business studies in 2013, and unfortunately, there wasn't any job available for me. So I decided to embark on blood pressure and sugar level checking. The idea was championed by my then girlfriend, who happens to be my wife now. She was a midwife student by then. So she bought the apparatus for me and then gave me some necessary basic training to help me start the business. So it got to a point in time where I could see that there were still no jobs coming and my energy was depleted. So as a matter of fact, I decided to...
Hello?
So as a matter of fact, I decided to pursue the degree with the hope that I may get a job after the degree. So while I was doing the blood pressure and sugar level, I was still attending school as an evening student. As an evening student. And I completed with a CGP of 3.72 and still there is no job for me available. So I'm still with my blood pressure and sugar level, hoping that one day there may be a job. But unfortunately, we are still on it, hoping for something better to happen.
Right. I mean, thank you, Nicholas. I'll come back to you. Please hold it there for me. But of course, we can say now that Nicholas is employed. Of course, he's doing something that brings some income. Of course, the income may not be enough to be able to take care of all his needs and what he has, but at least Nicholas is doing something. Eradams Karim, you've also been out of school. You have so many things that you are doing, but you have a grasp of this situation. I mean, I know so many people who go to you on a daily trying to ask you to find something for them to do. You heard this you heard this story from Nicholas. How bad is the situation out there for so many young people who just can't find something meaningful to do?
Kwaku, it's beyond bad. I'd say that it's terrible. What's happening as far as the unemployment situation in our country is concerned. I don't. So on a daily basis, I talk to people on a daily. Like I'm constantly interacting with people. I'm constantly hearing people out, and every day you're getting people asking you, do you know of any job openings here? Can I send you my CV just so you look at it, and if you have an opening, then you can, get me. And at this point, it's so bad that people do not even care how much it is that they are going to be paid. They just want something to do. And that's how terrible it's gotten to. And it's not as though, the qualifications are not there. It's not as though such people are not educated. People are educated. They've gone to school. They have all the classes. Some of them have the skill sets, but there's just not something for them to do. And let's also not lose sight of the fact that this particular challenge is multifaceted, right? Now, as much as there are so many people out there who have what it takes, they have the skill set, they have the qualification and all of that, but there are just not opportunities for them. I mean, there are equally people, who also just do not meet certain criteria that some organizations or some institutions are looking out for. But that's just one part of the conversation. For me, I think that tonight, the crux of the whole matter should be, the fact that there are not so many opportunities out there for, our graduates and, skilled youth alike to take advantage of. And that's why we find ourselves in this particular situation that we find ourselves in today. It's terrible. And there are so many things that so many people are doing today just to survive. And when you listen to some of these stories, it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And we just keep, doing the dilly-dally, playing politics with it every day. This one comes in, says that. This person comes in, says that. We are spewing different kinds of statistics out there on a daily basis. But the reality is staring us right in the face. Every year we are churning out numerous graduates, every single year. But where are the opportunities for them? I am self-employed. I had to find something for myself to do, because if I was going to rely on the government or rely on the system that we find ourselves in, I'm probably sure I'll still be seated home, right? And just as you intimated, and there are so many people today who have resorted to just going back to school to go and gather more degrees and gather more qualifications because they are unable to find anything to do with their lives when they get out of school. And that's how pathetic it is, and that it should not be the case. There's so many people who choose to go abroad and go clean toilets. They'll choose to go abroad and go do all sorts of menial jobs, and they don't even care, what risk they have to go through. They don't care how much money they have to gather and just, throw it at some agent and say, look, do whatever it takes to get me out of here. I'm sick and tired of staying in this country, because on a daily basis, Ghana just keeps giving people enough reasons to not stay. And it's sad, it's pathetic. And the long-term impact it's going to have on us, if we're not careful as a state, we're going to end up losing so many of our human resource. And once that happens, we are beginning to spell doom for our country. And if something needs to be done, it needs to be done immediately. At this point, I'm personally sick and tired of the NDC MPP banter as far as unemployment is concerned. I do not think that an issue such as unemployment should have anything to do with our stinking partisanship that we, engage in this country. When if we are not careful, we are going to be spelling doom. A lot of terrorist organizations, a lot of the security threats that we are seeing, around our country and in other parts of the world, people leverage on the fact that youth are vulnerable and then they take advantage of them. Imagine what's going to happen if these terrorist organizations start infiltrating our communities and identifying unemployed young people and giving them small change, just giving them small money and start training them. What do you think is going to happen? Eventually, they're going to start recruiting all of these young people into these terrorist organizations.
Right.
And that's bad for our country.
Thanks, Karim. That's a good point. We'll go to Kwesi Friye of the YES shortly. They're doing something to try and bridge the gap. We'll try and see if it's been really effective and if the numbers that the government and people have been putting out are really anything to go by. But let me go to Alfred. Alfred, Nicholas and Karim have all painted a very gloomy situation about this, gloomy picture about the situation. What does the data show? Before we get into some of the data that the vice president, the employment minister have all been putting out.
Thanks, Kwaku, and I'm really glad that Nicholas and Karim went ahead of me. So, from what they were describing, it paints a picture that, like in the developing world or developing country context, right? When we say employment, the definition of employment is basically doing something, like Nicholas said, like you're doing something, right? Whatever you're doing to produce a good and get it or provide a service that you get paid for, it's considered employment. Now, what that means is that when we look at unemployment or we look at employment figures, we have to really contextualize them. So when we say, for example, the unemployment rate is 14.7% as of Q3, basically it is even generous. That 14.7% is even higher. Like when you think about meaningful work, like people doing work that will earn them a wage, right? Or will earn them a livable wage. So when you look at the structure of the Ghanaian labor market or at least the employed section of it, you see that it is mostly dominated by self-employed people who don't have any employees. Now, what that means then is that they are in what we call like vulnerable employment, right? The employment is not really sustainable. You think of like if somebody for example, selling pure water. When they get interviewed, they are going to say they do work, but how much are they making? That is going to sustain them. So that's one of the things that I really want us to contextualize, that because we have a very informal sector, the definition of employment is very loose, right? As far as you're doing something, it might not be something that will be sustaining you or anything, you will still be counted as employed. And so even our unemployment number, even though it's high at 14.7%, it's still even very generous. Like it could be higher if we put a more, if we put a more strict definition to it. So one of the things that I really like to focus on is how are we transforming the structure of the labor market? So I can give you some data points. In 2016-17, when we did the Ghana Living Standard Survey, what that showed us was that about 24% of the people that are employed were in what we call wage employment. So they are paid employees, or there's also a small section of people that are paid apprentices. So those are all considered as like paid employees. Now, when we look at the data right now, we are looking at that number has reduced to about 22% of the employed population, right? So what is telling us is that, but again, when you on the flip side, when you look at those, the ones that I call vulnerable, those that are in vulnerable employment, we've seen a transition from about 49% of the total employed population to now 53%. So that is telling us is that we are not creating sustainable jobs, right? The jobs that we claim to be creating, and a lot of them, when you look at it, a lot of them are just transitional jobs. We're not creating sustainable jobs. So we're not causing any fundamental shift in the structure of the labor market. And that's why when you talk to people, it's like, I'm working, but things are not really going well, right? Because of course, the number of people, the percentage of people that are in wage employment, because when somebody is in a wage employment, there's a formal structure of, that at the end of the month, you get some payments here and there and all of that. There's a structure in place. In some cases, you might have some health insurance benefits and all of those kinds of things, right? So that is really a key thing to focus on. Also, the percentage of people that are in vulnerable employment right now as a whole is about 68%. So take all the people that are saying they're employed, about 68% of them, according to the stats service, are in what they call vulnerable employment. So these are some key indicators that really has to be the focus. It's not so much about we've created this many jobs, or what are the quality of the jobs that we are creating, and how is that changing the lives of people. I think that really should be the conversation.
I mean, interesting context there that Alfred introduces, and he brings the numbers, the crunch data, and gives us so important context. But we are certain to have been connected to Kwesi Free. He speaks for the YEA. So, Mr. Free, you've heard the Nicholas, and he had no job. He had to do something for himself. I'll get back to him in a minute. Karim also paints the picture about the situation, and Alfred set off contextualizes it with data. You are with the YEA, and a huge chunk of the people who do not have jobs are the young people, the youth. I mean, do you consider that the youth employment situation has gotten out of hand, and your institution is doing something to bridge it? Hello, Mr. Frier. Hello, Frier.
Kwaku, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Did you get the question?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes. So did you get my question, or I have to repeat that?
Yes, I got the question.
Okay.
Let me say a very big thank you to you and your listeners tonight, and then to my colleague panelists who are on. I was actually called into the interview, but I listened to the last part of, I think, Alfred, who was speaking. And for your question, I would say that it hasn't gotten out of hand, as some people may paint it to be that gloomy. It hasn't at all. What Alfred had been saying is very right, that we need to create sustainable jobs. And I think we at the Youth Employment Agency, led by my boss, Mr. Kofi Japan, we've had the focus of creating sustainable jobs. I mean, if you look at the last 2 years, Joy FM, you've been following all the things that we've been doing, the programs that we've been launching, and so on and so forth. And our focus has not been on what we call the traditional modules of the Youth Employment Agency, which we've been doing since about 2006 or 2008 till now. We are focusing on about 3 key areas. One of them is the artisanal industry. And I'm sure that you followed us with our partnership with the garment and textile industry to launch a program for people who are mastercrafts in textile, fashion design, tailoring, seamstresses, and so on and so forth, who have accepted to train a lot more young people to become fashion designers on their own, to become employers on their own and mastercrafts on their own, and be able to employ a lot more young people. If you look at the second thematic area, we are looking at a higher collaboration with the private sector. And my chief executive believes, and the entire management, of course, the board, governing board as well, believe that the most important or one most critical way of creating employment for young people is to create a conducive environment for the private sector to thrive. And so we have been focused especially on partnering with AGI, partnering with PEP Private Enterprises Federation, partnering with Ghana Employers Association, partnering with even the diplomatic community and the other agencies who are not of Ghana to create employment for the young people of Ghana. If you follow one of the programs that we've been talking about lately, the Business and Employment Assistance Program. This is an assistance we are giving to business owners, entrepreneurs, small-scale and medium-scale enterprises who were one way or the other affected by the COVID. Or they are startups, they are young entrepreneurs, they want to be able to expand their businesses. Somebody is a shoemaker, somebody has established a pharmacy and is not able to run the regular hours, maybe from 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. to about 11 p.m. We are saying that if you don't have the capacity, financial capacity, and you recruited just about 2 people, employ 2 more people, let's assist you to be able to pay those 2 people. And then your business will expand. If you are closing at 8, now you can close at either 11 or 12 in the evening. You can run a shift and get more people employed. If you're a shoemaker, you need to train more people. You need to get more people come on as apprentices. You can get more. We assist you to give them some stipends. You train them. I was in Chebi last week we paid a courtesy call on the checking last week. And if you saw some of the beneficiaries of a business that we have partnered with, I've forgotten the name. I'm sure I'll get it for you in the course of the conversation. He is training about 75 young people in fashion design. And he was happy to have met us from the head office because all the young people there who were walking the streets all the time had been recruited into his business and had gotten to several stages of the fashion design apprenticeship business, who were gradually becoming fashion designers on their own. The third thematic area, so I've mentioned the artisans, I've mentioned the partnership with the private sector. The third one is to support entrepreneurs to also grow. And so these are things that, we have seen, and from the statistics Ghana's Statistical Service has given, and from where all my colleagues are talking from, it is very difficult for the very formal sector alone to employ all the young people that are in the system. And so what we are doing is, yes, we are doing the formal sector. We are formalizing the informal sector and making sure that people have jobs. Just yesterday, we launched, we outdoored a partnership with a number of associations in the persons with disability sector, where we are recruiting 282 young people, especially those who are in the toll who have lost their jobs, to come back into employment. We have offices across the 261 districts. These are people who are going to attend to the needs and make sure that when recruitment is going on in the district, whether in the private sector, in the public sector, or wherever, these people, and if it's for the youth, these people are making sure that the needs of the persons with disabilities are catered for. And we are paying them. They have become permanent staff of the Youth Employment Agency. We put that out yesterday. I hear some people are doubting that. What we have done so far is to be as transparent as possible.
Okay. Transparent as possible. I want you to hold it there for me, Kwesi Afriyie, then I'll come back to you. Karim, you listen to Mr. Kwesi Afriyie there tell you about all the things that YEA is doing. Do you think they are doing enough to be able to bridge the gap because they are focused on the youth? Hello, Karim? Okay, if Karim is not
Kwaku, I lost you a bit. Can you take your question again?
Yeah, I wanted you to reflect on some of the points Kwesi Afriyie had raised in terms of what they are doing at the YE and whether you believe that is enough. Of course, he's put out some data, what exactly they are doing at designer, moving people to do more blue-collar job and all that. Your take?
All right, thank you very much, Kwaku Asante. So while he was speaking, I was taking notes because it's important that we interrogate all of the issues properly. And I'm just going to go back to what Alfred, said before he took over to speak. And the question specifically was on sustainability. All right. Now, we're talking about sustainability. You're training people in A, you're training people in B, you're training people in that. The question I want to be asking right now is that how many people in all have been trained in all of the initiatives that they start? How many people in all have we trained? Out of all of the people that we have trained, what is the long-term plan? So we train them and leave them. How many of them have been helped to set up their own enterprise or their own businesses? After setting up these businesses, how much money are they making? Right? That's sustainable enough to be able to take care of them and their needs and to even help them to expand their businesses as far as that's concerned. In helping them set up those businesses, what are their production capacities? Okay? Because I feel like every day we keep saying the same thing, and we're training people in that, we're training people in this, and we're doing this, and we're doing that. But the question is, where is the real impact? Because if indeed we are seeing any of these things happening, I don't think we'll be having this conversation today to start with. I don't think we're going to be having this conversation today to start with. And so if we are doing all of these things, where is the real impact? We need to see it on the ground, okay? Because I don't think that it's enough for someone to be earning 500 cedis or 1,000 cedis a month from a business, and we say it's sustainable enough. And so that enabling environment is still not there. Even if they are earning 10,000 or 20,000 cedis, and cost of living is still high, and taxes are still shooting up, then those businesses or those enterprises that people are setting up are still not going to be sustainable enough to cater for them and cater for their needs. So all of these are critical questions that we need to be asking ourselves, because honestly, we've had these things, and we've trained that, and we've created these opportunities, and we've done A, and we've done B, and we've done C. But where is the real impact of all of these things that we claim to be doing? Why is it? Because we don't see it on the ground.
It's not felt on the ground.
We don't see it. You understand? It's not felt. How are they even advertised? for people to get access to these opportunities as well.
Okay, good point you make there about advertising. And we've just been joined by Eugene. Eugene is currently job hunting. Eugene is actively looking for a job now. Eugene, you heard their YE and all the things they're kind of doing. Karim ends by talking about how that information is even going out. As a young person searching for a job, are you getting the opportunities? And YE, some of the things they do, is it something that you even find? Do you even find them, Eugene? If you can unmute so that you can make this point, Eugene.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kwaku. So I completely side with Karim. The question now begs that where exactly are they finding these people? What exactly are they making them do? Where can we find those jobs he's talking about? All right. At this point in time, a young graduate like myself will complete his bachelor's degree, start to search for a job. At least, you can look at what happens in the outside countries. By the time you are done with your bachelor's degree, at least you should be able to find something that is laid down. I mean, you have some laid down processes that you can go through to have whatsoever job that you want to do. But in that part of the country, realize that you're supposed to chase after jobs right after a bachelor's degree, and sometimes if you are not careful, you end up with just a bachelor's degree because you would use so many years in hunting for job. You cannot even do well in progressing whatsoever education you would want to have for yourself. And so that is the problem. We may want to ask him, where can we find these jobs? What are they doing? What are the qualifications for those that they've picked? And if that is so much feasible, as in if that is something that is really on the grounds, if that is something that is really going on, I beg to differ, because we are not seeing anything. We are not seeing anything on the ground.
Alfred, you mind the data, and I'll come to you, Mr. Free, so that you can respond. I just want to go around the table so that you can respond at the end. Alfred, you listen to YE. We've heard in the past, JIDA, SUBA, all these things are expected to create jobs, and there are those who said they've really just been reduced to political talk shops and other things. You've heard that from YE. You think that point, whatever they are doing is great enough, sustainable?
So thank you, Kwaku. I have a couple of points. The first one is that I think there are too many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to trying to address unemployment, youth unemployment, right? So YEA is doing something. Ghana Enterprise Agencies has.
Please, there is a car to come inside. So if
I think one of the guys on Zoom has a situation that he has to deal with, so we'll fix that. But Karim, if you can unmute for me, if you can mute, I think, so that I can focus on Alfred. So Alfred, you can make the point.
Okay, so like I was saying that YEA has something going on trying to address youth unemployment. Ghana Enterprise Agency is doing something, the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. So there's so many agencies that are trying to address a similar problem. And I think what that creates is that, that lack of coordination, that lack of kind of one front to try to deal with that. Like the government of Ghana recently did the review of earmarked funds, because YEA is funded, YEA is an earmarked fund, right, through the communication service tax. So when the government did a review, one of the recommendations was that consider consolidating all these different agencies that are touching on youth unemployment, that are trying to address youth employment issues. So that's the one point that I want to make about that just being having too many cooks in the kitchen could be it's a significant challenge. The other thing is that one of the things I've noticed is that the definition of what a job is when it comes to some of these government agencies is really unclear, right? There's some instances where people are counting skills training. So like when the PRO he talked about like they're providing all this training for people. What I've realized is that in some instances, those trainings are even counted as jobs created, right? We provided this training for this person. We think this person is going to go on and set up their own business, and they're in fashion. They've got training in fashion. They're going to do their own business. So that is a job created. Like, what is the extent of follow-up that we actually do to look at the effectiveness of these interventions that we put in place, right? And so when people say, "Well, we don't see the jobs, we don't feel it," it's some of these things. We don't have I don't think we have a very robust culture when it comes to evaluating the effectiveness of initiatives that we do. Maybe, you know what, I don't know what happens inside YE. Maybe YE internally has some evaluation, so comprehensive evaluation that they do that is not public. It's very hard to find information publicly anyways. So that's the other thing. Then the last point was when the PRO spoke, he said something about the youth unemployment rate is not getting worse. But actually the data says it is getting worse. So when you look at the Ghana Living Standards survey that was done in 2016-17, for the younger youth, which is between 15 and 24, the unemployment rate there was 18.5%. And then for the more of the adult youth, so 15 to 35 years, it was about 12.6%. When you look at now, that 18.5% is now 30%. And then that 12.6% is now 22%. So I don't think you can say the unemployment rate has not gotten worse. It has actually gotten worse. So then that comes back to the whole point of what is the effectiveness of these interventions. And because we have so many cooks in the kitchen, we have so many people touching the same topic, maybe the interventions are not intense enough, right? The interventions are not intense enough. We spread ourselves so thin that we cannot do very, very intensive interventions to make sure that people really, really connect to the labor market.
Thank you. And I'll come to you, Efri, in a minute. I want to hear from Nicholas if he hears about some of these opportunities and whether he considers himself employed. And for those who have just joined us, Nicholas completed uni and was not getting a job. He decided that he will go to the markets and test market women for their blood pressure and other things and charge them 2 cedis, 3 cedis, etc. Nicholas, do you consider yourself employed now, or whilst doing that, you're actually actively job hunting? And how do you relate to what the YEA PRO talks about in terms of what you're able to do to help people like you get skills and be employable?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, just as the government is trying to achieve efficiency and effectiveness with respect to the utilization of state resources, similarly, I also try to achieve value for money. I went to the uni to learn a skill set, that is accounting. And at the end of the period, I'm not getting a job that I spent money to acquire that knowledge. And I found myself doing something else. So I will not classify myself as someone who is employed, but I'll classify myself as someone who is underemployed, which is even a worst case scenario as compared to someone who is not even employed. Now, with respect to what YE is saying, I believe that in every statistical data, we have what we call the sample. And in every sample, we have sampling risk, which may not clearly reflect or represent the entire population status. Maybe the statistic that they've gathered, that is the picture that they are saying. But on the ground, it is not like that. So I feel so much sad when I hear these governmental institutions making such statements. I feel so much hurt because on the ground, we are suffering. And they will come out telling that we've done this social intervention program, we are doing this intervention, and we don't hear about it. This is the first time I'm even hearing this. I'm always on social media, but this is the first time I'm hearing about this. There's a poor communication, and I don't know how well they do their they intensify their advertisement or they carry out the message to the general public. Those interventions are made for the public. So if you are carrying out such an intervention and majority of the population are not aware of that, then automatically it has failed. It's a failed program.
And there's a problem. 055-1111-997. I want to hear from those of you who are listening. Very soon we'll get to the messages. But Kwesi Free, how do you respond to all the concerns expressed around the table?
Kwaku, I'm sure you would have to give me some time to respond if you have.
I'll give you enough time, but if we can run through it quickly because we just have about 10 minutes.
My very first question is I want to put back to Nicholas is doing something for himself, but for Nicholas and Eugene, have they searched youth employment agency before on the internet?
Well, maybe for them it's not just about searching, but they don't even have the idea to go and search because they don't even know about this existence.
Kwaku, and that's where we need to come from and begin the conversation. That's the exact problem we are talking about. There is an institution called Youth Employment Agency, mandated by the Act of Government at 888 to provide young people with jobs. And those that we can't provide with jobs, we have to facilitate the creation of jobs for them. We have set up a platform called the YEA Job Center, where we have collaborated with the private sector because we believe that not every business entity has the capacity financial muscle to be able to advertise with Joy FM, to be able to advertise with Daily Graphic. There is a business somewhere in Sabelugu or Kwabili East where I come from. Somebody needs just an accountant to help him with his bookkeeping. The person is doing well, he goes to China and come back and all of that. And is looking for somebody who has completed university and pay him about 5,000. But he doesn't have that financial muscle to come to Joy FM, to come and advertise because he only needs one person. So we set the market, we analyze the market and realize that there are pockets of jobs at certain parts of the country. And when we provide a platform where young people can go and apply and we do job matching for them, they can on their own be matched to employers. You have never searched on the internet for any government agency that is responsible for providing employment to even realize that we have a platform that will connect you, Eugene, who is speaking with me on the platform now. If you have done accounting or engineering or you've done marketing like myself or communication like myself, there is a communication somewhere in Sabelugu Natong. You haven't done that, but you are blaming government and blaming the institutions that are mandated to do so, that our communication is so well. Meanwhile, we work with all media houses. We work on all social media platforms. We have a website. So the burden is not only on one party. It is about the orientation of those people that are also looking for the jobs. I've been in this industry for a while. I'm a journalist myself. I'm a communicator myself. And then I've been in the employment creation business for a while. I'll tell you one thing, that I've dealt with people who come out of university and the orientation is that there is money out there. In the next 1 or 2 years, Kwaku, I need to buy a Toyota Highlander or I need to buy a Toyota Camry after working for 1 or 2 years. And the orientation is such that they finish the school and the job has to be there. I think that, yes, that's where government is gravitating towards. With all the digitization agenda, with all the 1D, 1F agenda, with all the privatization, private partnership agenda, that is where we are gravitating towards. But what is the orientation also of the young people that are coming out in the search for jobs? It's one very key question that we need to answer. Eugene asked where the jobs are, and I've given you the example how the jobs are hunted for, and when they come around, the orientation and the attitude and all of that. And let me try to address the sustainability again with Karim. And I've said that we believe that the business of government is to create a conducive environment for the private sector to thrive and to create more jobs. I intentionally did not mention some of the jobs that we have created, even on our own. And I intentionally did not mention some of the trainings that we have done on our own. I focused on the sustainable bits that we are creating. I mentioned the artisanal industry. As I speak to you now, we have a training going on, and let me bring Alfred's point in. The training is not just a training in itself, but it is a training for people to become mastercrafts in the artisanal industry. I can mention plumbers to you. I can mention masons to you. I can mention tailors to you. I can mention makeup artist industry is booming all over the country, everywhere. Not even in Ghana alone, but everywhere in the country. People are making businesses out of it. People are having funerals. People are having weddings. People are having parties every weekend. And makeup artists are making money. TV station, you don't sit there without a makeup artist. We are training people in these areas to become mastercrafts on their own. As I speak to you, we are training 20,000 artisans. When we finish the training, we are putting them on a single platform, like an Uber platform, where, as Kwaku, you're working now, if your wife calls you from the house that the taps are not flowing, or there is a problem with the plumbing works, you can check within your area, if you live at Awushi, where I live, and check which of these people live in Awushi. We are creating the market also for them.
Okay, Kwesi, I'll come back to you again. And you talk about wife, I'll be excited that my wife will call me and say, "Oh, something is not working." I'm looking for that one wife very soon. I hope I get to find her soon enough. But Michael, we have some messages coming in on the note that Kwesi just blessed me with a wife. Well, I see Sarah smiling at the production board. Probably she wants to marry me, but we'll talk about that after the show. Michael, the messages are coming in thick and fast. What are they saying?
Let's start with Bannerman all the way from the US of A. He says, the impression we Ghanaians create that no jobs in Ghana is very unfortunate. there are jobs in Ghana. Now, Ghanaians think working in the government sector is what they call jobs, right? The private building construction sector has a lot of job vacancies available and no applicants to fill this job opportunity. I mean, if people like yourself to have left the country too.
Yeah, Banaman is chilling in the US.
Banaman, thank you for sending us that. Now, Kwesi from Nungwa says, unfortunately, the GSS figure is lower than the reality. Well, that's what he thinks. Well, 1 in 5 people is unemployed. Unemployment is killing the youth. We need real jobs. I don't know what you term as a real job. I think that ties into what Banaman saying to that there's a perception of what a job can be as well. But if I take you to Twitter, Kwaku, now there's this one from Joel Andrew, and he says that who they lie. He sends us a story that we did here. And he says that we've created an unprecedented 2.1 million jobs since assuming office. And that's coming from that's coming from Bob.
Yeah. We'll interrogate those figures with Alfred in a moment.
And he says, I mean, so if you go on that post, a number of questions about where are all of those jobs, because some of them are looking for. Someone said, where are the 2 million jobs and the like. So Kwaku, this one says, is the government statistician saying that 15 years old can be employed in Ghana? Even as we can't find jobs, how much more the 15-year-olds who have no certificate? Well, you'll be surprised to know that some of them may have some skills in some sectors that may be very useful.
But there's photocopy who's singing all over the place. I'm sure if they ask to probably put it in the place of being employed. So, Michael, thank you very much for those comments that you guys are sending us. Interesting comments about where the jobs are, and people saying that it appears the data is much worse than what the Ghana Statistical Service put out. Of course, that's why this conversation is important. But Alfred, you see people asking where the jobs are. The Vice President spoke 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago and said government had created so many jobs. I remember once the Minister for Agric talked about the planting of food and jobs and spoke about 700,000 jobs having been created. The Minister for Employment sometimes says they've created 2 million jobs, sometimes 3 million jobs. Alfred, where are the jobs? Where the jobs they?
I think that question should be directed to the Vice President, honestly. But I keep making the point that it's really about the definition of job, right? I think that's really where we've been missing the thing. Like when you look at the breakdown of the Vice President's numbers, like I think he had 1.4 million for the public sector and 900,000 for the private formal sector. Right. So when you look at that data, what that really tells you is he's really focusing on the more like, I guess, paid or formal kinds of jobs, right? I mean, YEA is in there too for creating some of the jobs as well. But that's why earlier I wanted to point you to the picture of wage employment, right? So when you create 2.3 million jobs, remember the number of people employed is about 11 point something million. So if you alone create 2.3 million of those, and a lot of them are in formal sector, like private formal and all of that, that should cause a fundamental shift in the structure of the labor market. And from the earlier data that I was giving you, I said that in 2016-17, the people in wage employment was 24%. Now it is 22%. So we have even decreased, when at the same time we are claiming that we've created all these jobs. So that doesn't add up. Right. And that raises a lot of skepticism on my part, because I really need to be able to triangulate this data with other sources of data that we have available. So like, for example, I look at active taxpayer population. So these are jobs that are created by government agencies and the formal private sector. So I should see a reflection of that in the active taxpayer population, because of course, if these jobs are quote unquote sustainable jobs, they should reflect in the number of people that are paying taxes actively. When you look at GRA data between 2019 and 2022, and you compare it to the Vice President's numbers between 2019 and 2022, there's significant difference. So where are the jobs? And I think that's the question that we keep asking. And the one last point that I wanted to make was in relation to the PRO for the YEA. I think YEA is doing some work. They're doing some good work. I think, in my opinion, because we don't really see reports on the evaluation of all these employment activities that they're doing. It makes it hard for anybody to see that this is really what they're doing. Because right now, all we get from the YEA is we've created this many jobs, but like, how sustainable are these jobs? What kinds of follow-up are we doing? Like, if we train somebody in fashion designing and we say, okay, we are training them to be master apprentice, right, or master workers, or whatever the term that he used. What is the extent of follow-up that is happening? How do we know that actually they are staying in that job and continuing to succeed? How do we do that follow-up?
Okay. I mean, interesting conversation there. Thank you so much for all of you for joining us. And Kwesi Afriyie, we need to have another time to be able to interrogate some of the things you guys are doing at YE. But you've said some things, I think they are really brilliant. Karim Abdul Ewura, you always bring the fire to the show, and thank you. And to you, Eugene and Nicholas, I like what you're doing for yourselves. I really wish you all the best. I hope that you get to find something. But there are so many people out there who just can't find jobs. People ready and willing to work but can't find it. The government, the private sector, we all need to do our bit to ensure that the jobs happen. The data from the Ghana Statistical Service that came in this week is scary, and we need to look at it. The national security document shows that if we do not really resolve the employment or unemployment issue in the country, we are sitting on a time bomb, and who knows what is going to happen next. I don't want to be the purveyor of bad news. We all want to do better for this country. Andy Dusty is up next with the library. You don't have to go away. You know, it's always insightful conversations, really interesting stuff about music. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you again next week. My name is Kwaku Asante. Thanks for listening.
Associated with hypertension is regularly